Major news for retirees. Social Security benefits are receiving its greatest boost in more than 40 years.
The Social Security Administration announced today recipients will receive an 8.7% increase in their benefits next year. That is the biggest hike since 1981. Officials base this so-called cost of living adjustment on the inflation rate from July to September. Earlier today, the Labor Department reported prices jumped 8.2% last month in comparison to a year ago.
Joining us now is CBS News Money Watch reporter Amy Peeke. Hi, Amy. You wrote an article about the Social Security benefits boost published on CBSNews.com earlier today. This is an 8.7% boost, but when I was talking to some retirees when we were doing our food shortage and our economy reporting, we found that they were already having so much difficulty keeping up that for them, this isn't an actual boost, this is parity. What might this mean for relief, especially for older Americans?
Yeah, that's a really good question. On a dollar basis, the average benefit check will increase by about $146 a month starting in January. That means the typical Social Security check will rise from about $1,681 per month now to $1,827 per month starting in January. Now, most people think of Social Security as a program for older Americans, and it's true that most of the roughly 70 million recipients in the program are 62 or older. But this program also helps millions of disabled workers, children, widows, and widowers. In fact, there are 9 million disabled workers on it, another 6 million children, widows, and widowers. So this means that a broad range of Americans will actually be helped by this cost of living adjustment starting in January.
So it does help, but to Lana's point, does this cost of living adjustment really reflect inflation as far as how it's being felt by all the groups you've just spelled out, particularly those who may have extra high medical expenses?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would say yes and no, because this is, as you mentioned, a backward-looking adjustment. They used inflation from July through September, which is the third quarter. And you can just look at what happened last year. They gave a 5.9% cost of living adjustment for 2022. That was based on last summer's inflation. And Lana, as you were talking about, people this year, seniors this year, are really struggling because, as we know, inflation is far ahead of 5.9% this year. It's the highest inflation in 40 years. So that adjustment for 2022 didn't keep up with what happened this year. So, the hope is that next year's adjustment, 8.7%, will actually restore some of that purchasing power, especially if inflation goes down, which economists are predicting, although who knows what's going to happen. As we've seen again and again, inflation has remained higher than economists are predicting. But that's the hope, at least, that some of that purchasing power will be restored to seniors in 2023.
Well, and so many of those Social Security recipients' costs are fixed. Their housing is usually fixed, how much they spend on their utilities and on their groceries and things like that. But one thing, to your point, Errol, that really isn't fixed is their medical costs, because those can fluctuate widely. How much will that eat into recipients' boost?
Yeah, that's another great question. And there is some good news on this front. Medicare recently said that it will actually decrease its standard premium for its Part B plan in 2023. That's about $5.20 less a month, or about 3% that seniors will pay starting next year. And that's actually a huge relief, because what happened in 2022 is that the Part B premium actually rose more than 14%. That ate up a lot of the cost of living adjustment that seniors got for this year. So they could see some relief on that part. The other good news is that the insulin pricing cap that's mandated by the Inflation Reduction Act goes into effect for seniors on Medicare next year. That caps the monthly cost of insulin at $35 a month. They will have to wait a little bit longer for more relief from the Inflation Reduction Act, which caps out-of-pocket medical costs at $2,000 a year, but that doesn't go into effect until 2025. So some relief next year, but for bigger relief, seniors might have to wait another couple years.
And it's just another great point to make, that as we deal with inflation, it's everybody's suffering in many different ways. Amy Peeke, viewers should certainly take a look at your article online. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amy.
For being with us.
Thank you
today.
guys so much.